Welcome to the Fit Dad Nation podcast, forging strong fathers and raising a stronger generation. It's time to get up or shut up with your host, Steve Roy.
Hey guys, this is Steve Roy, the host of the Fit Dad Nation podcast. Welcome to the show and thanks for listening. Before I introduce today's guest, I just want to take a quick moment to invite all you dads who are listening right now and who are ready to start making changes and taking action on becoming a better father and a better man and working on your health and fitness. I kind of urge you to join our free online community. The best way to do that is to apply to our private Facebook group. That can be found at fitdadnation.com/community. So today I have with me a gentleman named Chris Vehon. He is a member of the Fit Dad Nation community. He's been a part of many of our programs and challenges over the last few years. And he's actually made some massive progress in his life. And he's been a huge inspiration to so many guys in our community, including me. And I'm just excited to talk to him and have him share his story. So Chris, thanks for being here.
Yeah, of course. My pleasure.
All right, man. So I'm just kind of hoping you can share your story with us because, I just admire your commitment and dedication to yourself. And I've seen not only your body, but a number of other areas in your life radically change over the last few years. So I just kind of love to hear kind of how all of this got started.
Sure. Well, actually, one of the thing that spurred it, I've always been, the bigger guy, and that's kind of how I always got by through life. That's how I always identified. I was kind of the funny big guy, and kind of rode that for a while. But kind of the turning point of when I realized how far things had gotten as far as my weight went was I was at a Diamondbacks game with my brother, and I actually got hit in the face with a foul ball. Kind of a fluke thing. I was trying to catch it, and it just kind of grazed off my hand and hit my face, broke my glasses. Glasses went everywhere, whatnot. But throughout the course of the night, they were like interviewing me on TV and all kinds of crazy stuff. So the next day, as I'm seeing all this stuff, I'm seeing like still shots of me on Twitter and Facebook, and I almost didn't recognize myself. I was this kind of guy that barely fit into the seat at the ball game and was just kind of slouching in his chair. And it was really weird to see myself like that. So that was one of the kind of turning point that I saw myself, how far I had gone, and decided I needed to change things then and there. So, I just started making small changes, and that's really been how I've gotten the ball rolling. I've done the whole trying to do massive overhauls of things, and it's always failed. It's always massive overhauls of diet. So, and I've done almost every one you can imagine. The one that I'm most ashamed of was I tried doing like a juice fast, or the juice feast as they call it. I bought a juicer, and I was prepared to only drink juice for weeks on end after seeing that documentary Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead, because I was getting to points where I was desperate, and I was willing to try anything, so I think I lasted maybe a day and a half doing that, and I just couldn't do it anymore. I had to eat something, I was in that mindset. So obviously that's, that was a no-go. So, but as far as, from that point where I started making changes, it was something as easy as, let's start small and get my 5 servings of vegetables a day, right? Because I wasn't eating vegetables. I was eating pizza and McDonald's and all that kind of stuff, multiple times a day, rarely. I would make food at home, but it was nothing that was super healthy, or I would make a lot of it, more than one person should be eating. So, that was really one of the first changes that I made was let's just get five servings of vegetables in my day. So how can I do that? Well, I can do, let's add a handful of spinach into an omelet in the morning, and, have a big salad for lunch and then, vegetables at night, just make it super simple. And that's really how a lot of that started.
Okay. So I want to get into actually some of those habits in a bit, but I want to backtrack just a second. So what year was this incident at the baseball field when you got smacked in the face?
This was probably 4 years ago now.
Okay. And so most of your adult life or as a child too, were you overweight?
Yeah. Oh, from, always, as far as I could tell. I mean, there's some pictures of me as like maybe a 4 or 5 year old where I had looked like I was a normal weight for that age. But I mean, all through elementary school, middle school, high school, it was always something. It wasn't really a struggle. It wasn't anything at that age where I was like, I should probably lose weight. I just didn't care. Like I had other things that I was prioritizing. I felt, I would feel some, there'd be some bullying and some things, kids can be jerks and whatnot, but it wasn't anything that I was ever at that point that I felt like I needed to do, but, really even in high school and college, I was heavily involved in theater, which is, so there's a lot of movement, a lot of activity. So honestly, during that time, that's what kept me as I don't want to say, thin, but at that time I was overweight, but it wasn't until after I kind of got a desk job and a lot of my activity just halted where I really kind of ballooned up.
Okay. And so when we met, I had just recently started the website, and I started out as a resource for single dads, and that's how we found each other. And I know you were struggling not only with your weight. I mean, we have got some crazy before and after pictures of you that I've used for testimonials and different things because your progress has been so amazing. But you're struggling with a lot of areas in your life, right? I mean, you didn't seem particularly happy, if I remember correctly. Struggling in your relationship, and so what was your life like 4 years ago as far as your relationships, your happiness, the quality of your life as a whole, just being kind of an unhappy sort of overweight guy, just kind of going through the motions of life?
Yeah, I mean, it was just that. It was just going through motions. I would come home from work and just go directly to the couch. I isolated myself a lot, and a lot of that had to do with, the shame surrounded by overeating. I didn't want anybody to see kind of where I was, but I wasn't putting myself out there. Now, when I was out with friends or family, I'm always happy and jovial and, very charismatic, but, I would kind of restrict myself and hold myself at, stay at home, be a homebody most of the time. So, and honestly, in that time, it was just at home on the couch watching TV, not really doing much of anything, so that was, I would go out, again, I'd go out every now and then with friends, family, maybe go to a ball game or whatnot, go over to family's house. But most of the time I was indoors. And then even when I was with my kids, it was the same thing. Unfortunately, that passed that on to my kids. Like when I had time with my kids, we stayed inside. We didn't really go out. I didn't take them out to play because I was just so ashamed and wanted to stay inside. So we would stay in and, watch movies, watch TV, play games inside. But we didn't really go outside much and walk around, run around, anything like that. Mostly because I couldn't. I wasn't in a place where I felt, at that time, my kids are 2, 3, 4 years old. I wasn't able to keep up with them. Even at that point. At that point, the highest I can remember weighing myself. I'm sure at some point I was even more than this, but I'm a pretty short guy. I'm about 5'7", 5'8", and I was at 267. So it's pretty big for a guy of my height. So it's pretty hard to keep up with little ones kind of at that size. So
yeah, no doubt. I know they're still pretty young, right? You have a son and a daughter.
I have a son and a daughter, and then a stepson. Because I just recently got married about a month and a half ago. My son and stepson are both. My son just turned 7. My stepson turned 7 next month, and then my daughter is going to turn 9 in September. She's 8 now.
Okay, so yeah, they're still young enough, so you can get out there with them. And I mean, what does it feel like? Because I mean, I don't know. I know you fluctuated, and I want to talk about that in a bit. And I do remember this photo of you posting in one of our groups about you finally were under 200 pounds and you were ecstatic. And I mean, so how does it feel now that that you're definitely more fit? And you have these little ones here, not little, but I'm sure they're super active, and being able to hang with them, chase them, play stuff with them, and not be completely exhausted or hurt.
Yeah. Well, yeah, once or twice a week, I have it set up where I go up and I see them. We'll meet up, we'll go to the park, we'll go have dinner. But that time at the park now is a lot more enjoyable because it's not just me sitting watching them play. I can actually be active. We'll play basketball, we'll run around, play tag, jump up and down. I mean, I can actually run up and down on the little playground set that they have. When I was at my heaviest, I never would have dreamed. I wouldn't have even, I couldn't have squeezed myself through anything that they had up there. So obviously it's a lot, the quality time that I have with the kids is exponentially better than when I was at my heaviest.
Sure. This is something that I talk about quite a bit in the groups, is, after I went through my separation, my divorce, my life got significantly worse. I was away from my kids and I turned to food. I was a mess. I felt terrible all the time. And I was always a good dad, but I was certainly not anywhere near the best dad I could be because like you, all I wanted to do was nothing, right? I was exhausted on the weekends. I wasn't looking for stuff to do. And, it wasn't the best thing for them by any means. And so once I took my health back and chose to make that a priority, I mean, things got infinitely better, and just kind of like you, we have interesting stories that have some similarities, but after I turned my life around, things started to go in the right direction. I too found somebody that, was really the person for me. Like you just got married and, I've been with this woman for 5 years now. And the thing I love about your story is, you just didn't lose some weight and then it's the end of the story. Like, you went out and you're in a new career and you're excited about it and you found the woman of your dreams and you just got married. Like all these things in your life have improved. And, I like to think that, maybe fitness was the catalyst to bigger and better things happening in your life.
Oh, sure. Cause it's, once, it is obviously you want to look better. But a lot of that spurs into that makes you feel better. It gives you more confidence. When I was at my heaviest, I never would have dreamed of trying to find a significant other or date someone because I didn't feel like I was a worthy person to find something like that. You know what I mean? And same with a career. You just find a job and you just want to be able to go in, do your work and go home and not try and excel. But after you change and you see what you're able to do through fitness, you have this feeling that, I'd been selling myself short for so long. I am capable of doing really great things. And, I've heard some other people say that, when you're overweight, a lot of overweight people, and then they lose weight, that's the first time that they've really achieved a goal. Because most of the time, and it's kind of a generalization, but I know in my case, I had never really strived to become better at anything else. I just kind of, like I said, I was just surviving life. You know, I was just kind of getting through the day to day, you know, just trying to make it to 5 o'clock at work, you know, just trying, and then from 5 o'clock, just trying to make it to 10 o'clock and go to bed and then just do it all over the next day. But once I saw what I was able to do, my true potential, I wanted to carry that into other aspects of my life.
Yeah, I love it. just watching you post over the years and all the people that have responded to it, your story, obviously just looking at your before and after, as crazy as it is, I mean, it's like two separate people. But I like it because, I mean, you're a regular dad like us, you're not a fit pro, or, you're just a guy that had enough and you started making changes. And so I want to hear, and you started talking about it a little bit before, more about, how you got started making those small changes, because a lot of people think it's got to be an all or none. They're overwhelmed. Oh my God, I have to change my diet completely. I have to do the paleo, I have to do the keto, and then I have to work out 5 days a week, and I have to do this, and I have to do that. And it's way too overwhelming. It's a setup for failure, and it doesn't work. So, we teach, slow, one step at a time, get one day better. And you were talking about that a little bit earlier. So I'd like to, if you would share more about that, like just the small things that you did just that got you started here. Yeah.
So that, like I said, the first thing was I knew, obviously, and a lot of it was just research. The perfect, me trying to, at that time, just trying to procrastinate. I was like, well, I should probably do like a ton of research before I really start anything, right? I was just like, let me research this, let me research that. But honestly, what that did was that helped me kind of get that foundation and building blocks for what I needed to do. So obviously, one of the things that I, in starting research and, one of the things, one of the things we hear all the time is you can't out-train a bad diet. And that's everywhere when you Google anything about weight loss, right? So I said, okay, I need to focus on what I'm eating first. So that's when I started, cleaning up my diet a little bit. And that's, again, the first thing I did was vegetables. I need to start eating more vegetables. I've been neglecting that. Obviously, there's a lot of things in there that, that'll make you feel better. And, it's they're filling foods, it's they're, that they're more, there's more volume in vegetables. So if I eat more vegetables, I'll fill up a little bit more, and then I won't eat as much of the other stuff that may be on the plate. So I would always eat that first. So like if I had a salad with dinner, I would eat the greens first, and then I would eat whatever was left. And if I got full, I stopped eating. I started listening to my hunger cues and not eating until it hurt like I used to, before. So that was one of the things that I, just started doing as far as with nutrition. And then I started meal prepping. Like I can't just leave this to chance what I'm going to eat at this next meal. For me, I couldn't just leave myself unrestricted at that time. Like I knew I had to change that up. So I started meal prepping, and I did it. I did it easy. I'm also a person that can eat the same thing every day for 5-6 days, and it doesn't really faze me. So I kept it really simple. Breakfast, I did ground turkey with taco seasoning and scrambled eggs, because to me it kind of like had this like chorizo and egg kind of feel, but it was turkey, so it was a little bit leaner, right? And then I had eggs. At the time, I was doing 1 whole egg and 3 egg whites. I wasn't eating whole eggs all the time, so that was pretty easy. And then lunch, it was just grilled chicken, or grilled or baked chicken, and broccoli or some other leafy green or whatnot to keep me full. And then dinner was typically like a big salad with some sort of like baked or grilled protein. So I would either have like a grilled steak salad or grilled chicken salad, whatnot. So that was kind of the next step. And I started counting calories, tracking calories, weighing everything, because I had no idea what a portion was, because I was just eating in massive quantity. So I didn't know what a real portion looked like. So I started doing that too, to kind of, again, teach myself what a normal portion is. So as far as nutrition goes, those were some of the things that I started out with, just eating more vegetables and learning what a portion was, and, prepping what I was going to eat, because I couldn't leave myself to just kind of free range graze on whatever was in the house.
Sure. And you said something important, keeping it simple, and that's key. The more confusing, difficult it is, or you think it is, the less likely you're going to do it. So, you had the perfect setup, because if you're somebody that can eat the same stuff over and over, that's ideal, because it takes all the guesswork out of it. Oh, I've got to think of a recipe. I've got to Google a recipe. I've got to find out what to eat. Now I have to go to the store and buy all the ingredients, and then I have to cook it, and screw it. I'm just going to stop at Wendy's, right? So yeah. And then as far as meal planning, again, that can be a pain in the ass. So one thing that I've seen works is, when you're tracking your foods, and I think it's very smart to do that, at least in the beginning, is write all the foods down that you plan on having for the day, log them in before you eat them, and then just stick to it. So instead of, going to Chipotle, ordering whatever, and then meticulously entering every calorie into it, do it first thing, enter it all, and then just stick to it. It's done. Like, it's already, so that's one way to do it anyway. But, so along with that, did you start hitting the gym? Did you start walking? How did you get started with exercise?
Yeah, I started walking. Obviously, that's it was just something that was easy. Now, also in Phoenix, a lot of this started. It was in the middle of the summer, so it's hot as hell in Phoenix. Even when it's 10 o'clock at night, it can still be around 100 degrees. It's no joke. So I would walk as much as I could within the heat that I was given. Obviously that's, and then it starts, I just said, I can't do this anymore. No amount of water that I bring with me while I'm walking around makes this at all bearable. So at that point, there was a gym within walking distance. So I'm walking around. There's no reason why I couldn't have just gone to this gym, but I had no confidence in myself to be able to walk into a gym and just start going. So again, with the amount of research I did, I saw all of these different lifting programs and things like that. But I walked in there and I already had my plan. I had this, this routine I was going to do, but I walked in and I froze. But instead of walking out, I just found a bike and just hopped on the bike and just started going. And I did that for about 45 minutes. Took me about a week or two, to kind of shake some of that intimidation factor off until I started walking around. Every time I walk in, you'd see the same people. And I'm like, it's people that are just trying to better themselves too. There's no real judgment in a gym. I've learned that. Most of the time, people are just in there by themselves. They have what they're going to do. They're going to go in and do it. So, I know that's how I am. I go in, I keep my head down, I do my work, and then I get out. Mostly because I don't want to spend all day in the gym. I just want to go in and get out. So I started realizing that nobody really cares what you're doing. So I was like, then who cares if somebody sees me, only be able to do half of this set that I want to do because I can't lift it. Like, nobody cares. So then I just started doing a really simple, push-pull leg split. Really simple, really easy, about, 2-3 different movements per muscle group that I was working. And it just kind of rolled from there. It was, hey, I did a 10-pound curl last week. Let's see what a 15-pound curl feels like this week. And just kind of progressively increasing weight and just going from there. I started at a 10-pound curl, 10-pound curl. And that's where I started. That was my starting point. There's no shame in that. The problem is when you go in and you try lifting something that's too heavy, you're either going to hurt yourself or you're going to feel like a failure because, at that time, I probably couldn't have done an 8-rep set with a 15-pound dumbbell, like doing curls. I probably wouldn't have been able to do it. So I just told myself, let's start with 5, see how that feels. And even that was tough, but I told myself, this is where I'm starting. It's not where I'm going to end, but this is where I'm starting. So just kept rolling from there and eventually, started lifting heavier and started doing more cardio. I would do, stairs 3 times a week for about 15, 20 minutes. I started doing some running. That was something that I never thought I would be able to do. But again, I started slow. I started doing the Couch to 5K program, where you basically you run for 60 seconds and then you walk for 90, and you do that about 8 times, and you start slow. You just start building up the ability to run, and soon enough you're running for 30 minutes unbroken. So it's again, it's all about starting small and working your way up. If you try and do something too hard, too fast, you're going to burn out, or you're going to hurt something. And then if you hurt something, you can't go back. You know what I mean? Then you just tell yourself, well, I'm hurt. That throws off your momentum, and then everything just goes down the drain.
Yeah, for sure. So, you said something interesting, and that was that nobody cares, right? So a lot of people think that when they go in there, everybody's judging them. They don't know what they're doing, or if they're overweight, everybody's staring at them. And you're exactly right when you say nobody cares. I mean, especially the guys that most people think are judging them, the meatheads and the guys that are staring at themselves, and the fit people. They're only concerned about what you think of them. They're
Right.
constantly looking at themselves, and and so that's I've had to actually deal with a number of clients over the years that have had severe anxiety about going to the gym for that reason. Is, listen, man, just seriously, you might think so, but no one is paying attention to you. They really don't care what you look like, what you're lifting, any of that stuff. Just do your thing, put it out of your head, and just move on.
And if anything, I had, when I first started, when I first start doing stairs or doing the stair climber, things like that, people that I saw every day at the gym, they see me struggling on something and they just walk by and give me a quick fist bump. And it's like, okay, like somebody's rooting for me. You know what I mean? Like somebody sees that I'm working, somebody sees that I'm doing my best. And that would be all I would need to finish the last 5-10 minutes, whatever I had left. So even though you don't have to become close friends with these people, 9 times out of 10, you're going to see the same people, especially if you're going around
Yep.
the same time. You're going to see a lot of the same people there. So even just like a fist bump, high five, I would do that, even or if it was somebody that was new and I see him working hard, just give him a little bit of encouragement. And sometimes that'll make them come back. Maybe that was a hard workout and they were like, hey, maybe this isn't for me, but they get one person showing them that, hey, you got this, they'll come back again. And then that keeps that momentum going for them too.
That's exactly right. And it kind of leads into my next question was, it's I guess you call it sort of a tribe at the gym, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts on how important our tribe. I know you've been very active over years in a number of our programs, the Fit Dad Blueprint program, challenges, from our private membership programs. I mean, how does that help you as far as all of this is concerned, as being around a bunch of like-minded guys that are doing the same thing?
Yeah, it's really powerful. It's a really powerful thing because, again, they'll celebrate you on your good days and they'll push you on your bad days. I can't, we all have both. There's days where, I know that I've posted, an accomplishment. I'll post, hey, I finally hit this weight. Everybody's like, hey, great job. And then there's days where I've posted about, I walked in the gym. I even got, I barely got halfway through and I had to leave. Like it was just a bad day. And a lot of the guys are like, hey, it happens to everybody. But you know what? The gym's going to be there tomorrow and you'll kill it tomorrow. There's all and everything in between, So having that tribe of guys that are all like-minded, we all want the same thing. We all want to be better men so that we can be better dads, better husbands, better brothers, better sons, what have you. So we're all here for one goal. So having that support system is huge. Now in the, like the individual challenges, I know the first one I did was that I ever did with you. I don't know if it was the first one that you ever did too, was the paleo challenge. It was a 30-day paleo challenge. So not only is it working on the nutrition side of it, but a lot of what you did with the fitness was not using a lot of weight. It was running hills, things that cavemen would have had to do.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like it was more fit. It was functional fitness, which was huge. It was eye opening for me because again, I was the kind of person that I was doing, walking into the gym doing, curls, presses, things like that. And then when I saw hill runs, I was like, oh shit, like this is not gonna this is gonna be brutal, and doing more body weight stuff, which are a lot of the times different types of movements than you're used to just doing either machines or free weights, whatnot. So it's always good to have those challenges. And I know I'm usually humbled by a lot of the challenges that you put out there. You think, oh, I got this. And then you look at the guide on day one and it's like, this is going to be a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. So definitely love having that tribe there to push you, celebrate you, give advice, and because I don't know everything. I like to think I do sometimes, but I don't. So I know that in a group of 600 plus guys in the base camp, somebody probably knows something that I don't. So, even putting out and asking questions to those guys too is good. And it's not just about finance things. I've put it all out there and we're all there to help each other and push each other and help each other grow.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. And I just love doing things in a tribe now. Actually, everything that I do really is in a tribe now or a group setting because of that. So, yeah. And so let me ask you this. Did you ever, and I don't believe in suffering for the sake of getting healthy, like some people kind of equate the two, and you've got to sacrifice everything that you love and you've got to spend all this time in the gym and it's miserable. I don't think that's just smart to go about it. But that's a smart way to go about it. But did you ever go through that? Doesn't sound like it from what you're saying, but did you ever go through a phase where you're like, this just sucks? I mean, I'd just rather go back to doing what I was doing. Or did you just say, you know what, this is what it is, let's just one day after another?
Well, sure. I mean, there's always days where it's a grind. I'd like to say that every day I went to the gym, I wanted to be there, but that's not the case. That'd be a lie. So there are days where it's a grind. There's weeks where it's a grind, where, it's, I don't want to go, but I go. But on those days, I've never walked out of the gym regretting a workout. Like I always feel 1,000 times better than I did when I walked in. So knowing that I'm going to feel better when I walk out than when I walked in is, motivation enough to get there. There's never really been a time where I've thought about quitting and going back to, the old lifestyle of just going back and sitting on the couch and stuffing my face and whatnot. I've always had it in my mind that I don't want to go back to that, because since I've been here and I can see what life can be like, not having to carry around extra weight, not walking around depressed, unmotivated, things like that. I don't want to go back to that. So that's really kept me moving forward too.
So what motivates you now? Like what's getting you out of bed and keeping you pushing forward every day?
Well, now what's motivating me is, obvious. Before I just had to worry about, being a father, but now I have, the label of being a husband as well, and it's one that I wear proudly with alongside my wife. So it's, having that as well, not only do I have to provide for my kids, but I have a whole family unit now that we need to provide for. So, and that's not just, with work, that's, things around the house and, caring for kids and all that on, daily tasks and things like that. So with, that's what's keeping me moving forward now, is wanting to be an active part of everybody's life. and not just sitting around and wallowing in self-pity.
Sure. And I think it's important to understand, your own reasons, and everybody's different. There are no right or wrong answers, but, it's a personal thing, but you need to know, what is it that is actually going to motivate you? Because if there isn't a strong reason, you're like, well, I would like to look better and feel better, but so does everybody else, right? There isn't a person in the world that doesn't want to look and feel better, but very few are doing it. So it requires something much more than that, and that's the catalyst, in my opinion, to getting things rolling. Is it's really important to me that this happens, and so that's very important stuff. So I just want to talk about one more thing that's, and I've actually heard you talk about this in some of your posts before, but talk about non-scale victories, and I personally hate the scale as an indicator of progress, because it can be misleading, it can be demotivating. I mean, I've seen people quit because of the scale, even though they're doing all the right things, they're eating well, they've changed their lifestyle, but the scale isn't doing what they think it's supposed to be doing, and they said this isn't working, and they quit, and then it's done, right? And so there are a lot of ways to judge your progress. So what do you look at in your own life other than just a scale number?
Sure. So the biggest non-scale victory for me was when I got to wear a shirt that didn't have an X in front of the size. So when I went from, when I started, I was in double XL t-shirts, and even those were a little bit tight on me. Again, 267 doesn't sound like a big number, but when you're 5'7", it's a pretty big number. You know what I mean? And I was wearing it, I kind of had the skinny leg, big torso look, which wasn't a good look. So even double X shirts were pretty big on me. But the first time, and I was even again, where I was at, even as I was losing weight, feeling better about myself, I was still selling myself short and buying myself extra large shirts when I probably could have been in a large shirt. It was on a fluke one day. I can't remember what store I was at, but they just had basic color t-shirt, and it was like $5. And I was like, let's buy a large shirt. Let's see if it fits. If it doesn't fit, hey, I was out $5. Or I can just use it as kind of a gauge to see where I'm at to getting into a large shirt. I got home and I put it on, and it fit. Like, it fit well. Like, it wasn't like a tight fit. It fit well. So that was huge. Going from being able to fit into a large shirt was huge for me, and there's, a lot of, again, the non-scale victories as far as, fitness goes, being able to run unbroken for, 25 minutes was huge for me, because that was something I never thought I'd be able to do. Now, do I like running? Not really. But it's something that I set out to do. Like, it was a goal that I set out for myself, and I achieved it. So it doesn't even have to be something you like doing. It just shows you that you can set a goal for yourself and you can achieve it. Yeah. But I will say, as far as, I know you preach a lot of the, scale, whatnot, but I through this whole process, I did and still do weigh myself daily, because for me, it's just a trend. Now I'm at a point now where that number isn't a reflection of who I am or where I'm at, but it is a data point for me. And I like having that data point through this process, because it can show me, hey, something's not working. Something that I'm doing isn't working, so I need to change it. For me, it was never, this isn't working, so why am I doing this at all? It was, something's not working, let me look at what I'm doing, change, locate what the problem is, and then change it. So I think if you can look at it that way, as opposed to, it's not moving, I'm doing something wrong, so let's just scrap the whole thing. Like, having the courage to do the self-reflection and see what you're doing wrong, owning what you're doing wrong and changing it. It was huge for me in that process, because it showed me that I can do that. That self-reflection and self-evaluation was hard for me because I always hated doing that, because I never liked what I saw looking back at me when I did that self-reflection. So going through that process was big for me. Learning all of that was helpful, not only in the, just in my own personal growth.
And there's nothing inherently wrong with weighing yourself every day. I just don't advise it because some people, a lot of people just can't handle it. It's like, for me, I love playing poker, like in a poker room in a casino, but I would never be able to do it full time because I can't handle the swings, like the emotional swings. So I think a lot of people like that when it comes to their weight. They get on and they're like scared to look at it and like, tell me what it is, tell me what it says, and if it's not what they want, then the world comes crashing down, and you can't live like that. So typically, what I'll suggest is every couple of weeks, but if it works for you every day and you're fine with it, then there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it is, it's kind of goes back to, I know you talk about it a lot, is there's no one right way to do it. If you're the kind of person that can weigh yourself every day, like you said, and that's, like me, and I see it as a data point and it's just information, it has nothing to do with, it's not a reflection of who I am, and that works for you, then do it. If you're the kind of person, I know people that go through this process and never weigh themselves. They base it just on how they look, how they feel, and that's fantastic too. It's whatever works for you, because what I've done may not work for somebody else. There may be somebody that can completely overhaul and they have success. That just doesn't work for me. So I know that's something that you talk about a lot too, especially in regards to different diets. It's not everything is going to work for everyone, but give it a chance. I know one of the things that we've talked about in the group lately, and that you've posted about a couple of times, is the keto diet. I did the keto diet. It worked for me. It's not easy by any means. I know it's very restrictive, but if you have the level of commitment needed to do it, and you're successful at it, then, and you can do it in a healthy way, then there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to do it.
I don't bash any particular diet, and some things work for some people, but it just comes down to personal choice. If it fits into your lifestyle, if it's sustainable, if it's healthy. Some people are all or none. Some people need to do it slowly, and I'm never going to push any one particular program or anything else on somebody, because it's so personal. Because it's not just like, I'm going to just change the way I eat. It's highly emotional. So many people, especially overweight people, have so many emotional issues tied to their weight and the history. And it's not just as simple as buy this book, start eating this way, give up all carbohydrates, and you're going to be fine. It's just not that easy. So that's my frustration, is dealing with that, especially on social media, seeing people recommending every shitty diet known to man and everything else. This works for me, you got to do this. You definitely have to do this. Yeah. So anyway, first of all, I just want to thank you for being here. This is the first time I've done this type of interview with someone from our community. And what I really wanted to do it because, you're a regular dad like us, right? You're not walking around at 6% body fat. You're not ripped and jacked. And, it's probably not even a goal of yours, nor is it mine or most of the guys in our community. But, you're working hard and you're making progress. You're feeling good about yourself. You have bad days, you have bad weeks. You put on 10 pounds, you lose 10 pounds, you go through life, right? But at the end of the day, you're consistent and you're committed. And that's what I really wanted to share today. So, I appreciate you being here.
Yeah, of course, it's my pleasure, and it's always, being a part of this community is humbling, to say the least. There's a lot of great guys, great men a part of this group, and I appreciate you. Obviously, I know I can speak for all of us that we appreciate what you do for us too.
Well, I appreciate that, and you've been a great asset to the community, so thank you. And I'm looking forward to sharing this and hopefully helping a lot of dads.
Yeah, definitely. I hope it, hopefully you can get somebody can get just one thing out of it, and it helps them move forward and help them reach their goals.
You got it. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. And remember, if you want more information, check out the Fit Dad Basecamp group on Facebook. And don't forget to stop by fitdadnation.com. Until next time, keep kicking ass and taking the next step. You can do this, Dad.